Yes, indeed, as you've seen in that welcoming slide, the Bimbola Akianjo joins us next. She is the Managing Director of Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, LAMATA. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. Well, we've seen and heard, gotten some information from the reports that we just put together, just played now. But perhaps we should just take a step back, much as we've equally heard from the governor in terms of what to expect. But if you could just give us probably a bird's eye view for quite a number of people who may be listening for the first time, what the Lagos rail system, where it is at the moment.
Okay, so good morning, and thank you very much for having me. So the Blue Line rail system, which is one of the ones that, one of the two that Lagos State is currently implementing, is at the point where we have completed civil infrastructure, and that was what we did the other day. So what we've done is 13 kilometers of rail line with all of its ancillary works, going from Mile 2 to Marina. So if you remember, we talk about the Blue Line as going from Okumaiko to Marina. And like we've always said, we will build it in phases. So this is a completion of the first phase. And we have 5 stations that have been implemented. We have Marina, we have National Theatre, we have Igomu, we have Alaba, and we have Mile 2. All of those stations are ready. And what we will now start to do, and all of our systems are ready, is to start to implement testing and commissioning. So what that means is that because we have now completed infrastructure, we need to begin to test our systems to be certain that it is truly ready for passenger operations. Because with railway, safety is critical, and ensuring that everything that we have written down. So from that perspective, we will have processes, how to come in, how to come off, how to tap in, how to tap out, how to evacuate a station if there is an emergency. All of those things will be trialed out. And we will also spend this time sensitizing the people. Because like we've said, the only way you can ride on the trains would be to use the carry card, and you would use an automatic fare collection system to get into the onto the system. So all of those things will be trialed. We have 5 stations ready, and we are really now starting to talk to the people, let them understand that this rail system is electrified. So we're going to have advocacy out there, let people understand, so that very close to start of commercial operations, we would be talking to people. Continuous advocacy will be going on from now till towards the end of the first quarter, so that everybody would have heard that not only is the rail here, but the rail is electrified and we have no business crossing it. And that's why we have implemented at every station, not just a pedestrian bridge that takes you to the tracks, but also, or to the platform, but also across the expressway that this Blue Line is. So as you know, the Blue Line is in the middle of the Lagos-Badagry Expressway. So there is pedestrian bridges for you to cross. The position has to be that we as Lagosians must understand that we cannot cross those tracks. It's a 750 volt electric supplied along the track. So it is very, very dangerous. From that perspective, we are hoping that we will have complete understanding of the people so that we all buy into it. And as a responsible government, the whole alignment is actually cordoned off. It's been fenced off. There'll be lots of signage. There'll be lots of advocacy. But we hope and expect to start passenger operations by the end of the first quarter of 2023.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about that safety, those safety concerns that you spoke about. But in terms of the testing, is it going to be regular testing open to general passengers or a select few, or what exactly, and when will it end? Because, I mean, you say at the end of the first quarter, you expect to start full operation. So what do we expect with this testing?
So what you will see is that we will take different facets of society. So we could decide today that we're going to trial out with students. So we'll take some students, we'll take them on. Apart from the general advocacy that we will be doing, we'll take some students from various schools in Lagos and we will give them a ride. So when they come into the stations, we will explain to them, this is how you get onto the trains. This is what you must do, and this is how you must do whatever it is you must do. We could take market women, we could take corporate bodies, government officials, various people will be taken on board. So it wouldn't be a free-for-all testing. It would be selected few to first of all understand, and maybe toward the end of the testing and commissioning, when we've done a lot of select passengers for testing, we may have like a week before, a couple of days before, where we have a few days that we would allow people to just come and experience it, general.
And then speaking about the safety, I know that, of course, you get a lot of questions, concerns about the safety of the rail track, given the fact that they're electrified and people will die if they cross it. But in Lagos, we've seen some areas that are just cordoned off, fenced as a matter of fact. And then some time after, by the time you get to those areas, you see that for some reason, who knows why, they've just gone, vandalized the place, cut off the net, just to make sure they keep crossing those areas. And you can't just understand why they do all of those things. So now with this one, the concern, a huge concern is, wow, it is going to be a kind of sensitization that will be ongoing for a very long time. What is the thinking in terms of having seen how some road users or pedestrians handle some things? Now, concerning this one, how are you approaching this? Because it's life and death now, not just, they can't afford to just cut any fence and cross the rail tracks.
Okay, so, this is where we have gotten to in Lagos. There is a problem with the citizenry where we don't seem to understand that. First of all, forget the fact that the infrastructure is electrified. Infrastructure belongs to all of us. And destroying infrastructure is actually wasting all of our monies. So there is a first advocacy of ownership that we must have. Let us all own infrastructure that has been implemented by government. Now, like you say, this is exacerbated by the fact that it is electrified, and we really don't want any of our people to be electrocuted. So that's why I say that we will continue to do this advocacy. There's so many things that we have lined up. We're going to have Nollywood people do skits for us that we will put out there. We're going to continue to put out information. We're going to go on radio daily. We're going to come on television. We're going to go to various local governments. What we've actually done, we've gone to local government heads to sensitize them to begin to talk to their people. So we had said that to them, all of the local governments that this rail line goes through, we have spoken to the local government heads. We have been talking to some of their local chiefs, local obas, to let their people know. And obviously when we get to those places, we will continue to talk to the people. The bottom line is an advocacy that must be ongoing. It has to be ongoing. It's a new phenomenon in Lagos, and so therefore you are going to have to do this for years and years. So even whilst we start passenger operations, we're going to continue to talk about ensuring that you don't cross the tracks. This is something we will do maybe for the next 2 to 3 years until people get used to it, and people will then themselves begin to do it. And what we're also doing is doing it in various languages. All the languages that we have in Lagos, Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, we've done it in Egun. Some of our advocacies come out also in French because of people who come into the city who are not residents here, but are people who are not, of our language or of our understanding. So for us, we're constantly thinking about ways in which we can reach our people and ensure that they understand the message and they take the message and begin to understand. And we must know that if we will develop, this is where we must go. We keep talking about development. This is where we must go. And if we know and understand that this is where we must go, we need to begin to reorientate the way we think and the way we do things. Obviously, cutting infrastructure and crossing is a no-no. Even if I did not have electric rail tracks, which we will not have on the red line that's coming, it is still not acceptable because trains will be coming at a lot quicker intervals. So that in itself is also a risk.
how well, how fast, how effectively can that communication get to the, 20 million Lagosians who at some point or the other, maybe not all of them, but will have some sort of interaction with the train itself, because that's a major concern. If this will start off next month, I imagine, the first month in 2023, then that leaves us with barely 31 days to sensitize all of Lagosians, even people coming in, because it's not just people staying in Lagos that will use that rail line. But the question then for a lot of people is why the third rail system? Why not some sort of overhead cabling such that the tracks itself is not energized? Why did we go for the third rail system as opposed to maybe some sort of overhead where the tracks itself is separate from the electric current that is passing through?
Okay, so if we talking about the OLE, overhead line electrification, that itself is a 25,000 volt electric supply that's going through it. So there is nothing to say that it is also acceptable for you to cross an OLE line, because when it offs, you get a lot more going through you. Now, the third rail system is what was conceived a long time ago. And in its fairness, I think for us, we need to really understand what it is we want as a city. We really don't want to, we need to learn to encourage our citizens to understand that it is not acceptable to do certain things. So if you go along the red line, for instance, which is the existing Lagos-Ibadan expressway, you see people, they put their wares, they're selling meat, they're selling yam, they're doing all sorts of things on it. This is not the way to get development. This is not what we must be doing. And really and truly, regardless of electricity, the fact that I am running a train, which is where we're headed, every 3 minutes, says that it's not okay for you to cross. Because if the electric don't get you, the trains will. You can't be running across a rail line that in its design, when we grow, we will end up with trains every 3 minutes. Right now, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway does a train, maybe one train in the morning, one train, maybe 5 trains in a day. When the red line starts, what we expect, we start off with maybe a train every 10, 15 minutes. So definitely being on the track becomes a no-no. We, right now in Lagos, and I remember we did a study of the number of accidents that we've had at a lot of those level crossings. So what we know for a certainty of fact is that interaction with rail lines, whether it is electrified or not, should not be what we are doing. So we cannot say, oh, it would be okay if it was OLE. It won't be okay. It is just not okay to cross a rail line. It's as simple as that. So we must begin to sensitize our people. And that's why I said that for the next 3 months, it will be the end of the first quarter that we will begin passenger operations. And we will ensure that we will keep talking and keep advocating and keep putting skits out and putting it on social media, putting it on television, on traditional media, in the newspapers, on radio, which I know that a lot of people listen to. Nigeria, we have to grow. We can't keep asking for development and then say, oh, but we want to continue to behave the way we've always behaved. Development comes with new understanding, and that new understanding must be disseminated to all the people. And believe you me, there will come a time when they will not do it anymore if we keep at it and we continue to develop in this way.
Madam, my concern is also about safety. In one of the first videos put out, I see one of the officials talking about the danger in crossing the rail lines because the tracks are electrified. Although you said they've been cordoned off, but in that video we saw some people gaining access, from the roadside and crossing the rail lines. I confirm that that's an old video, and all those access routes across the rail lines have been cordoned off.
All of those routes have been cordoned off. We also have security there. So we have 24/7 security along the track. And what we do is every time they cross, even now, We pick them up and we talk to them. We explain to them why they must not. And the position must be that everybody that tries to do it, we have one-on-one conversations with them. And I must say, in the time since we started cordoning off, which would be about 9 months, 12 months, this would be the second time we've done the cordoning off. The first time, all of it was cut off and people did what we're used to doing. But in about, in the past 5-6 months, when we've had security there, we've had a lot less infractions. Because every time somebody crosses, the Lagos State Task Force, the police that are there, they pick them up. And then we have conversations. So really what we're doing is ensuring that even when you're doing it now, we've told you, and we've told a number of them that if we catch you more than once doing this, you will be picked up and you will be taken to the police station because it's trespassing. So a lot of these things...
let me just quickly follow up with this. That surveillance that the state government has provided, is it a 24-hour surveillance, and will it also deter vandalism of the barricades, the cordon, to prevent crossing?
Okay, so all of what we will have is along the line, we will have CCTV, we will have motion detection systems. That's what we're putting in for the blue line. And then we also have physical place along that corridor. So definitely it will detect vandalism, it will detect all sorts of just trespassing. Anybody trespassing on our rail systems will be picked up. You see this all over the world. And in fairness, all over the world, there will be the one-off scenario where somebody will try or attempt to cross the line. And hopefully they will be picked up and nothing will happen to them. But the position must be that we must explain to the people, and that's part of the reason why we will begin to intensify that information over the next 2 to 3 months, so that close to passenger operations, people will have it ringing in their ears and their understanding.
I mean, I think that's really important. You're talking about all of the resources, especially for surveillance that has been deployed. It just, got me thinking about how far this project has come. I mean, reports saying it goes as far back as 2008. There were lots of delays, but finally, it looks like this is happening finally, at the end of the day. Can you tell us, speak to the cost implication of this? Because I imagine for the construction itself, all of the other things you have to do, this must be a very heavy project. So how much did this cost exactly?
So I think the cost has been put out publicly. When you look at what Lagos has done, we have a rail system that has crossed the bridging over a vehicular bridge. It has crossed the lagoon. It has gone, we have a sea crossing bridge. So, and it is elevated for the majority of its portion. So from Igomu all the way to National Theatre, it's elevated. So that means that from that elevation onwards, we also have elevated stations. So this is an expensive rail, but I believe that the cost of it has always been very clear. The position of states, and I always say to people, if you go to National Theatre, there was a board there for years, from 2010 when it was started. It said it very clearly that it's $1.15 billion. It said it, and it was there for a long time. So it's nothing to, and I think anybody that has an understanding of rail lines implementation and that can be bothered to make the research will understand that Lagos actually got a good price, because when you are looking at a rail line system that is in brownfield, it is very expensive.
Right.
There are tables in world over that will tell you that it's done from anything from, for upgrade systems, anything from $30 million per kilometer to all up to over $150, $200 million per kilometer. This one comes in at just under $45 million per kilometer.
So how much did it cost in total? the project, $45 million multiplied by, I mean, what we have now, is it 13 kilometers, 27 kilometers? How much did it come to, or has it come to in total?
So when, like I said, the board that was put out was speaking to the entire length, but at that time it was speaking to the entire length minus the rail crossing. So it's about, so for us right now, what we've spent is the portion that we have built at no more than 45 million per kilometer. 45 million per kilometer.
I'll try to crunch that math, but I'm sure you're aware of some of the comments made about this project itself. Some give an example of constructions in other climes. I think one that sticks out is this, the one from Ethiopia to the port of Djibouti, which is said to have cost about, what, let me just see, over $5 million per kilometer. And they're asking, why did Lagos have to spend that much? $45 million per kilometer.
So maybe we should speak to comparing apples with apples. And this is what I say about, if you want to do the research, it's on, you can, you know, we're in the world of research, and we should all, without just regurgitating what someone has said, we can all do the research. Now, the position is clear. The Djibouti to Ethiopia to Djibouti rail line is on greenfield site. You are all at grade. You are going through bushes. You are not paying for any compensation. You are not elevated. There is a world of difference. New York built a 1 kilometer line for nearly $1 billion for one, because you're in the middle of the city. We're in the middle. We had to do a sea crossing. We're elevated for the majority of the line. There is a table that we have in the negotiations for this rail. We knew exactly what we were doing, and the position was very clear. When you bother to look at the cost of metro, not an intercity rail line, a metro system in the middle of a city, where you see you are crossing water. We bridged over an existing bridge. We have elevated positions all over the place. It's not for me to say, it is for us, when we hear information, to take the time to actually look into Google. Common Google will tell us. Forget the fact that I understand railway. If you look on the system and say cost of metro all over the world, you would find that we actually have gotten a halfway decent deal. Most of these cities would build them at over 100 million per kilometer, 150 million per kilometer. And that means you're comparing apples with apples. Please don't compare apples with oranges, or even apples with a balmo, whatever.
You know, the thing is, the people will always ask these questions. They didn't elect Google as a government. So it's important to put out all of these information such that people know exactly what is being done. But we'd like to thank you so much for your time. I imagine a lot of people are looking forward to jump on that train. Literally. We've been speaking with Abimbola Akiajo, who's the Managing Director of LAMATA. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
So that's an update on the Lagos rails, but we have more for you on the program, so stick with us. We'll be right back.